My name's Tom Gilbert. I am based here in Copenhagen, and of course welcome you to the conference, the Applied Hologenomics Conference, kindly funded by the Novo Nordisk Foundation. So for those that don't know me, I direct a center here in Copenhagen called the Center for Evolutionary Hologenomics. It was funded by something called the Grundforskning Fund, the Danish National Research Foundation, initially for 6 years, to basically study evolution through the light of the holobiont and its hologenome, and that's why we're called the Center for Evolutionary Hologenomics, of course. And for those that have registered for the conference on a lucky kind of dip and don't really know what hologenomics is about, just to be clear, the holobiont, the scaffold with its microbes, the hologenome, the combined genome of the both. And actually at our center, when we proposed this to the funding agency, we said, look, there are lots of classic questions in ecology and evolution that genomicists have been studying from the angle of the genome. So for example, people who want to know how a vulture can eat rotting carcasses will sequence the genome of the vulture and try and explain it that way. And then there are the microbiologists who study things at the other level, but there were relatively few people studying the two together. And so we thought maybe the technologies are now in place, the community is growing, it's getting reasonably cost-effective that we can start readdressing some of these questions in ecology and evolution from the context of the hologenome. Our center is about 60 people, about 7 or 10 research groups. I should know this as the director, but it changes every now and then. We're very brutal in Denmark. We get rid of people very fast. And we spawn new things very, very quickly. But no, we've been going since 2020, and hopefully you will hear some of the people from the center as part of the conference. Now, as I briefly mentioned, this is the second time we have held a conference like this. A few years ago, myself and two of my co-PIs, Anton and Morten, had a big EU-funded research and innovation action called HoloFood. It was studying the effect of different probiotics on performance of animals being farmed. And as part of that, when you write these big EU grants, you promise all sorts of things. And one of the things we promised to do was hold a free conference. We lived up to that. And in Bilbao 2 years ago, we held the first conference. It was a very nerve-wracking experiment for us because it was free and it was just after COVID. But actually, to our gratification, some 100+ people turned up to the conference. We hope they enjoyed themselves, and we got really good feedback, actually, and people seemed very happy about it. And the reason we think they were happy was that the conference was less focused on a particular topic as opposed to an area, a discipline. And so all the different talks were basically giving examples of what you can do with modern omics technologies and what you can apply it to. And our impression was a lot of people came to be inspired, and there were some really, really, really fascinating talks. So excited about that, we thought we'd try and hold it again. Thanks to the obesity crisis, Novo Nordisk is a very rich company. Novo Nordisk are owned by the Novo Nordisk Foundation, which is a very big foundation. And they provide a lot of research funding in Scandinavia. And one of the things they fund actually is conferences and symposia. It's an application that's relatively straightforward. So we put an application in saying we would like to hold a similar-ish kind of a conference. And one of the nice things about the application is it's a lot of work because you have to already kind of pre-describe what you would like to do, what the structure will be. You have to pre-invite a number of people who might be interesting to hear. So here you'll see a load of pictures of the people that we basically approached up front and said, would you be willing to support our application, and if it's funded, come. And thankfully, they all said yes. And hence, we got our funding, and hence, we are here today. So we are very grateful to the Novo Nordisk Foundation, because they are basically why we can hold this conference for free. At the latest numbers, there was about 220 people saying they will come in person. Again, the problem with free stuff is that people at the last minute decide they want to watch England play football, for example, and don't turn up. Luckily, they don't have to watch Denmark play football anymore, because I went a bit wrong last night. We should have 60 or so online throughout the conference, so it's a good number. It's increased by probably 50% since last time. And of course, a huge thanks to all of you that did decide to come and spend your time here as opposed to sunbathing. Thanks also to the funding, we were able to provide a small number of stipends for some of the more junior researchers. Conveniently, we had we had exactly 11 PhDs and below, master students, maybe even a bachelor student, submitting abstracts for talks and presentations, and we're actually able, thanks to the foundation, to also provide them a stipend towards that. So here are the 11 people. Congratulations, people. A few other things. Big thanks to Christina and Ella, who've done an awful lot of the logistics. Thank you again, people. Also, Joel, Charlotte, and Sarah were on the reception desk. They're also around the whole time, so thank you, guys. And they also washed all the cups and made all the badges. And, of course, thank you to the other members of the center who have been involved or will be helping out. Along with myself, the scientific committee was mainly Morten, Anton, and Anastasica from our center, and Seth, who we pretend is part of our center. He's involved in a lot of our discussions, so thank you, guys. They were helping picking the talks, and they're doing other functions. So a big thanks to those guys as well. Let's give them a clap. A big thanks to the invited speakers. We know it's a slightly awkward time of year, but a huge thank you to you for coming. We very much look forward to your talks. You'll all get claps after you give your talks, as long as you give them. And a few other things. We were funded mainly by the Novo Nordisk Foundation, but we have some small extra support. 3D-omics, which is one of the EU projects run by Anton, the Grundforskning Fund to fund us. And as you'll see, we have some sponsors with stands outside: Clini Sciences, Atrani Biosciences, Novogene, and the conglomerate, which was Clinical Microbiomics and their friends, and a little bit from BioRender. So please do visit the stands. They provided money to make our food breaks much better. It would be truly terrible university standard if it wasn't for them. So whenever you're eating, feel grateful to them and go and talk to them about giving them all your money. So with that, I will stop.